Hey cinema community, we heard our local MC just got done seeing Harold the Purple Crayon. This is our extended review. Rebecca, what'd you think?
This is definitely a kid's movie, but it's a little bit of a snarky kid's movie, so I think the adults and some of the older kids might appreciate some of the humor. I know Teresa did.
I actually was laughing. I enjoyed it. It was actually pretty funny.
There's some familiar faces you may or may not recognize. Zachary Levi, hot off Shazam.
It's so beautiful. Look at all the friendly people.
Weight loss, Smurf.
Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords and What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, not the show.
I love the fact that Alfred Molina was the narrator.
Once there was a boy named Harold. With his purple crayon, anything he drew came to life.
Come on, everybody.
As he got bigger, so did his imagination.
Right away we were like, oh, this could be pretty good.
The characters are pretty solid. Yeah, it's a bit goofy. Yeah, you know, there's some stuff that only happens in kids' movies. But they do make fun of it.
This movie was pretty self-aware. In fact, it almost felt like sometimes the actors were talking to the audience versus just talking in general. It actually made for a more entertaining movie to me.
There's also some emotional journeys going on in the story as well. Yeah, we talk about grief, but there's also the conundrum Harold finds himself as, why am I here? It's a very existential conundrum that I was very surprised to see in this kind of a kid's movie.
A lot of the ethical questions, a lot of the life's questions were actually asked. They weren't even implied. Zachary Levi as Harold was actually wondering, why am I here?
Zooey Deschanel does her best to keep up with Harold and his crayon antics, as it were.
What were you thinking?
Oh, no, honestly, I don't do a lot of thinking.
And she does a pretty decent job. She's not an overbearing mom, but you really get the perspective that she has no idea what's going on.
I like the movie. It didn't feel like the actors or actresses were dilated in. Admittedly, it felt a little predictable. Admittedly, it's a kid movie, but as an adult, I have an affinity for Harold and the Purple Crayon. Yes, I'm that kid. I remember reading the book, and it didn't deviate so far that I didn't even recognize it or didn't like it so much.
There's definitely some grown-up humor in this movie, but it's not obnoxious. It's definitely, if you're older, you may recognize some of this.
Look out! Are you okay?
My insides are coming to my outside.
I thought I saw a moose.
I'm a moose.
Oh my God, you have a concussion.
I like the fact that the movie was clean. It didn't feel like the wink and nod in terms of, hey, we're saying something just the adults are gonna get and the kids aren't gonna get it, but wink, 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 this is only an adult theme. I like the fact it felt like a pretty pure movie for kids to see and adults to enjoy.
The music's pretty solid. It's nothing to write home about, but it definitely brings the story together. I like how Teresa mentions that this movie feels pure. I liked how wholesome it was, but it wasn't cloyingly wholesome. You definitely got the sense of what the filmmakers are trying to champion in kids without it being just so cheesy, just like, oh.
It's what your crayon is made of. The most powerful, extraordinary stuff on earth. Wax. Pure imagination.
The editing needs a little bit of work. I definitely saw where they seamed some of the frames, but the cinematography actually was not terrible to look at. They definitely know their surroundings and how to involve the audience into them, but it's not amazing cinematography to me.
This movie was an hour and a half. It felt about like an hour and a half. It was interesting because when it would start to kind of slow down, it would pick back up again. So it wasn't as if you saw the best part in the end, you saw the best part in the middle, but it did start to go slow and I thought, oh, they're gonna lose this, but they didn't. They jumped back in. More action was happening.
Also, don't forget, if you see this movie, there is a mid-credit scene, so you might want to stay a little bit longer than you would have expected.
This movie definitely opened the door for a future one, so if you liked it and the audience likes it, you might see another Harold. Rebecca, is it worth a watch?
I think it's worth a watch if you're a little bit older. If you're a bit younger, some of it just might feel like the grown-ups are laughing at everything else that you have no idea about. That being said, you will have some fun. This is what we like to call on the channel family candy.
I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite, it's not the best kids movie I've seen, but honestly for what it did, it actually did pretty well. I would say it's worth a watch if you have a little bit older kids and even the adults. It's not gonna be a snooze fest. You'll probably get some laughs out of it too.
This has been one of our extended reviews. We wanna hear in the comments, what's your favorite kids book? Also, if you wanna check out some of our other extended reviews, click the links to the right.